right. So good afternoon, everyone. I guess morning for some. So, but we've got an S&P that's kind of having a little problem. Um, if you see this chart right here, we've I basically put a Fibonacci retracement from the low that we had up from the high that we came from. And for the most part, we're coming right up to that 50% retracement, and they just can't seem to get above it right now. So if they can get above 55, 50 in the S&P, then probably has some room to kind of move higher. If it kind of fails to do that, then we'll kind of see what it does. Right now, we're just kind of bouncing back and forth. So today being tax day, usually kind of a low volume day historically. A lot of people trying to get their taxes done and everything like that and say the heck with the market. I got to get this done and get it in the mail and so on and so forth. So that's usually what you're seeing on this day. And so it does have a tendency to be kind of a low volume, kind of a slow day. So there it is. Another thing we've got going on is earnings season has begun. I believe Johnson and Johnson came out this morning, or last week or whatever it was. Maybe it was this morning. I hadn't looked at Johnson and Johnson, but I know a lot of earnings are going to be beginning to come out and do all kinds of things. You know, you get the Dow people and the S&P people out of the way over the next couple of weeks, couple 3 weeks, and then, of course, the big NASDAQ guys, but we've got a couple of them coming out as well. So it's going to be kind of an interesting thing. We also have a short week. We have Good Friday this Friday, going into Easter weekend. It's a national holiday. I'm not national, but it's a global holiday. It's not just a national holiday. So global markets are shut down. So it'll be just basically there's hardly any markets in the world open. A lot of times when we take a holiday or whatever it is, the world's still up, open and trading and all that good stuff. But with this one, and New Year's and Christmas and stuff like that, they have a tendency of shutting down when we do. So be a kind of a very nothing day. Um, with that, a lot of the options that are expiring on Friday. Um, with options not expiring on Friday and options expiring on Thursday, a lot of things, if you look at just option premium itself, going to Thursday, you only have a couple of days, so there's not a whole lot of premium out there to kind of grab if you're trying to do put spreads or call spreads or anything like that. So just because of the shortened week. And so, it's going to be really difficult to try to get into something, try to make any money off something just going out a couple of days. If you have 3 or 4 days, it's one thing, but if you only got a couple of days and they don't have a whole lot of time to decay or anything like that, so they're not going to offer you a whole lot for that premium. So just kind of beware of that. As far as getting long stuff on a longer term basis, of course, the weekend really doesn't matter all that much. So, but that's the biggest thing about a shortened week like this is, you'll have a shorter time span on, premium and all that good stuff. So it kind of gets a little bit out of whack, if you will. Um, but with the earnings, going back to that real quickly, one thing I'll be real surprised at, if they can actually, have forecasts. I think you're going to see a whole lot less forecasts coming out on this. So when you start doing the CFO or CEO or whatever phone calls after earnings, they might not give you a whole lot of guidance. They might say, "Yeah, we did all right. I have no idea what we're going to be doing, so but we did okay." That might be the extent of what they say. I'm sure some of them will give guidance. There'll be a couple of them out there, but for the most part, I think overall you'll see probably a decrease in the number of people giving guidance, just because of the uncertainty looking out to the future, which is still kind of funny, in a way. I mean, for 8, 9, 10 months, a year, whatever it is, all Trump said was, "I'm doing tariffs, 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 25, no, 10%, 5%, whatever, tariffs, tariffs, tariffs." When tariff day got here, they were just like, "Oh my God, he put tariffs on everything." Well, that's what he said he was going to do, so that's what he did. Um, but the market always overreacts to everything, and that's just the way it is, and you just kind of have to deal with it from there. But another thing that no, I was kind of reading and everything like that this week. I mean, I always kind of look at energy markets and seeing what things are going on. I guess he put, he has sanctions on some countries and he has tariffs on other countries and everything like this. And Venezuela actually is now um, uh, rejecting uh, ships leaving their ports to going to the U.S. And not only that, they're keeping from ships, some ships, from even getting cargo from their ports to ship to the U.S. So, in that sense of things, you've got some shipping that's not going to be coming in here now. How you like that one? So somebody else trying to thwart the administration, just like China's been raising tariffs. They're up to I think 80% or whatever it is, and Trump jumps it up to 125%. So there's just going to be a lot of spitting and spatting around. But I think some of the shipping folks out there might be kind of reacting to that. Zim is a real popular one, ZIM, Zim Shipping. It's a cheap stock. It's like 13 bucks. Another one that I would probably look at is a DAC, which is it's Greek. I think it's Danaos. I don't know. It's Danaos. But they're out of Greece, but their stock is actually an ADR here in the US, and it's DAC. They jumped up off that news, and I think if that continues on, you'll probably see that continue to do that. Now, they do Europe, Australia, and the United States. I don't think they do South America. So they might be increasing their shipping stuff, doing better. As other ships can't do anything, they might be grabbing stuff from other places of the world and bringing it over and all this good stuff. So they've got a ton of ships, and they have a bunch of them under construction and everything. So, but DAC might be one to really kind of look at um, as things kind of go forward here a little bit. I think they're around $76, $77, something like that. But they're in there somewhere. But that's one thing that I would also kind of gander at a little bit as we start going forward. We don't have a whole lot of news. I think tomorrow we have retail sales, and of course we got the Philly Fed manufacturing coming out as well on Thursday. There's nothing on Friday, of course, right? So that's the biggest thing is when we start looking at those things is kind of you know the economic news is going to be probably I hate to say secondary to what the market's going to be doing, but it almost is at this point in time. I think a lot of people are going to be weighing a lot of what earnings are doing after the first quarter. So that's one big thing. Um, Oh, SBLK. What is that? Star something, right? Yeah, I think they're like a $7 company. I think they're kind of like No Zim and the other ones also. So yeah, Terry. I forget what they are. They're Star something, Star Bulk or something like that. Um, but yeah, Terry, that's correct. You might look at SBLK also as well. Another thing that's really kind of interesting, let me say this just off the cuff here, real quickly. If you are looking at the administration right now, the Department or the Defense, it's like DIU, Defense something unit, the Defense something, whatever it is. It's part of the Department of Defense where they go out and try to figure out how to power things. How's that? They're actually identifying a lot of some of these nuclear companies that are out there. They listed like 8 or 10 of them that they're going to be giving money to put in reactors and stuff like that around military bases and everything like that. They're looking for somewhere between 1 to 20 megawatts of power out of these little SRMs, small modular reactors. And they're going to start getting more and more of those around the country, which I thought was really interesting. I hadn't heard anything about it. And I know that uranium has been kind of moving up a little bit. And so I was thinking, hey, this is really pretty cool. And if you want to learn more about that, I think after this presentation, you'll be uh, seeing a presentation that I did yesterday on uranium and everything like that. If you want to kind of stay in for that, so just beware of that. But I think with that happening, and of course, always the demand for uranium right now, because a lot of places are trying to go into nuclear. I think uranium is going to be, a big thing going forward. So, Defense Innovation Unit, thank you very much. DIU. I know. So I read it the first time. It's like DUI. What's going on with DUI? And then I read it again. It's like, oh, DIU. So, but yeah, but I mean, that's the biggest thing. So, uh, is there a change you want me to make on? Is there a change you want me? I didn't see your first question. I guess. Hold on. Do you have a trade for the oil program? Oh, for this week? Yeah, I'm not doing the EIT this week. I went out and was trying to find options on XOP, and I couldn't find anything that we can make any money on. I mean, I don't want to try to get into something that's 3 or 4 or 5 cents. Um, and of course, you'd have to get really close to the market, and I don't want to get that close with newses and stuff like that going out. So we put out a thing today saying that we would not be doing that this week just because of the shortened week. I was actually thinking about doing it, but I just couldn't find anything that had any premium. So if that's answer your question, Richard. So, but yeah, I think look at the kind of the shipping guys, and you might start looking at some of the uranium stocks that are out there and seeing if they're going to be out there. There's a couple of them. Um, uh, let me throw this out there. BWXT. Let me type that in. BWXT. And also OKL. I kind of liked this one. I'm from Oklahoma. It's not OKLA, but it's real close. That's a couple of the companies that the DIU is looking at um, for their small modular reactors and stuff like that. So those are a couple of stocks that I kind of keep my eye on just a little bit and kind of see if they don't continue to do well as they get more money from the federal government to help out with their energy around the United States. So, but yeah, that's one thing that's going to be kind of neat. Um, Next week, uh, since this is going to be a shortened week, we'll be back again on Thursday just to kind of wrap the week up, I guess, is what we'll do. And we'll start going into next week. And when next week kind of hits, we're going to get like tons of earnings start pouring out. I mean, it's going to be inundated with all kinds of companies and this, that, and the other. A lot of the S&P 500 folks, and we will be in full swing on the earnings stuff come next week. Another thing is that Congress is shut down for 2 weeks because of the Easter holiday. They always take a couple weeks off. So you don't have really anybody in Congress to say, yay, nay, we need to vote on this and affirm that and confirm this and blah, 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 blah. So it's going to be pretty quiet out of Washington, except for the administration, of course, um, as far as the lawmakers and stuff like that. So do beware that if you're only seeing people that, like, the little town halls and everything like that, saying, why aren't you in Washington? Because they got 2 weeks off. So, I mean, that's going to kind of slow things down a little bit as far as that's concerned. That's why they were saying earlier they were trying to, do this, that, and the other, and might not be May until they get to it. Well, they take half of April off. So that's why it might be May. When you take 2 weeks off, there's half of a month right there. So, but that's one thing that you'll also see. As far as the overall markets themselves, they're kind of holding up. Um, I'm not too impressed with uh, them going to continue to move higher yet. Um, Now you have to remember this: we opened up the month 15 days ago on the S&P at 5644. That 50% retracement line you see on that chart right there is about 55.40. But I would say if they can get above 55.50, we'll be looking pretty good. That's still 100 points from the month open where we started out the month. Now, granted, on the, what was it, the 2nd of April, that's when they said, we're doing tariffs. And boom, the market died, right? So that's the that's the biggest thing when you start looking at the markets themselves, is even though they might be bouncing back up some, um, and they've done a decent job. They've retraced 50% of that move they had down. Yay. But they're still not above this month's open, so we're still down on the month. Um, and you look at where we started out the week at 54.52. We're still down on the week. Of course, this is only Tuesday, but we're still down a little bit on this week. So, even though they're trying to look a little more positive and trying to be more positive, just the broader picture is still on the red side of things. So I'm not too impressed with the upside at this point in time. And until that picture tries to change a little bit. And another thing that you have going on this week, just on another side note here, because I can do a lot of those, is basically you've got crude oil rolling over as well. Crude's going from the May contract to the June contract. There's not a lot of difference between those two contracts. But if you're looking at one, and we're on the other one now, so just beware of that. The current one doesn't really go out until Tuesday of next week. That's last trade date. But they're going to roll that thing over probably because of the EIA petroleum status report tomorrow. And you're going to have a holiday on Friday, so they're probably going to throw all the volume on the next contract, so you don't have to worry about trying to get out of the thing before it expires. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. Um, but I mean, if you're wanting to, I mean, if you're starting to look at no crude and it's kind of looking kind of weird, that's probably going to be another thing. They rolled the gasoline and the heating oil contract yesterday, and they actually rolled the crude contract volume wise today. So watch out for that. Another thing that would be running into, since my brain's just kind of going through a Rolodex here, um, we're in the middle of the month. Starting next week, also, I mean, if you don't watch a lot of the commodities, don't worry about it, but you're going to start rolling your grains over from the May to the July contract, even though that goes to the end of the month before they actually have to roll. But they'll start rolling that volume over. July is the actual harvest month for wheat. You don't get harvest month for corn and soybean until you get to the November, December contracts. Those are your harvest contracts on those two. So once we get past July, those two will roll to the uh, soybeans will go to November. December will be corn. But wheat will still do September. So just beware of that. We'll talk about that once we get there. And then, of course, silver and copper and all those things are going to roll at the end of this month. And they'll be going to July also. So we got a lot of things still rolling over to other contracts throughout the month of April here. And even though we just did the rollover stuff for all the index futures, everything has different rollovers and everything like that. So just beware of that. But we'll talk about that once we get there. Um, but anyhow, so if you have any other questions, let me know. But do check out that DAC, DA, I can type DAC, ZIM. And even I'll even include that other one that they threw in there. Yeah, Starbulk, SBLK. There's those three. There's 5 stocks to kind of keep your eyes on with the current newses that are kind of getting flipped around out there. And so I think the DAC is probably going to be the better of the 3, but the other ones might be doing pretty well. But as far as those SMR stocks, the nuclear stocks, those two are in their list. That's the only ones I could find that were publicly traded in the United States. I'll put it that way. So I'd be looking to buy the 3 of them. I'd give it I mean, I'd probably wait till next week to do it just because it's a short week this week. And we still have some news that are going to be coming out. But they're on my watch list at this point in time just because of this Venezuela thing. I don't know who else is going to be, joining them to do the exact same thing. We already have shipping problems. Um, there's even, talk right now of some people not even using the Suez Canal right now. They're finding other ways to get somewhere from some other place, just because the Suez Canal is so, dicey at this point in time. A lot of people don't want to go through there, and insurance to go through there is very, very high. So they're trying to find ways to get around going through that Suez Canal, unfortunately. But and that's where we're getting a lot of shipping problems and everything like that. So it's right now, I think shipping might be going up, and that's why I'm thinking those would probably be something to look at and kind of keep your eyes on. So uh NNE, Tammy, you got me on that one. What is this? Volatile little thing in it. Um Nano nuclear energy. That one wasn't in there. That's not part of their list. I was just looking at the ones that they had in their list, that the DIU list, Tammy. I wasn't looking at all the other ones that are out there. I've now that I've seen nano nuclear, I've heard of that. Never have looked at their stock though, to be honest. But I have heard of nano nuclear. Um, and there's actually a couple of other ones out there that I've heard of that weren't in the list. So, but they have some in the list, and there are like 8 of them. And those are the only 2 in that list that I could find is what I posted in here. Yeah. So, but I was just looking at the ones that the government's approving for funds. So, yeah, that's the link right there. Um, Everyone here has omitting petroleum oil. I would never admit petroleum oil. Petroleum is, I mean, you look around you, there is nothing that's around you at your desk anywhere that was not touched by petroleum, period. Copper is almost exactly the same way. Just about everything on your desk either has copper in it or there was copper that helped make it. And those two are huge in the world. And to totally omit that would be just absolutely absurd. And I would never do that. I watch crude oil all the time. In fact, I've got one program that's all I do is just trade off of the energy markets themselves. So that's the EIT, so energy income trader. So, but yeah, I mean, I always watch crude. Crude is a great market, and it's a very, no, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to. It's an intuitive market. Let me say it that way. Um, I mean, they look at the world, they look at everything like that, and that's what's so nice. And gold is the same way. Bonds are the same way. These are real huge global things that will be moved by global ramifications, and that's why I'll always watch them. EIT, not AIT, but yes, my EIT is mine. It's my energy trader. Yeah. So energy income trader. But yeah, that's what I was actually saying earlier. With the shortened week, it's a real short week, so I'm not putting out a trade on it this week. I couldn't find anything that had any premium in it, and so I just kind of blew it off. We sent out a notification telling everybody that, and next week we'll come in and we'll have a full week and we'll start hitting it up again. So, but if you're wanting to hang out for more nuclear information and stuff like that, hang in here and we'll be playing that up next. So, with that, um, Thanks all for being here. We'll be back on Thursday, wrap up the week, and see how things have gone with some more earnings and everything else, and see if I can find some more stuff out on this DIU people.